Like, share, leave a comment. This gonna be a quick video. I gotta get out of here, but I got to address this. This is a fraud with the Somalians and that stupid ass Tim Watts who could have been VP. Can you imagine how this country would be all a million still coming in? So the Minnesota fraud update. Asha Hassan enters plea over Medicaid foods and food scams. Arian Farhan Hussein, who was the first person to be charged in the 14 million scheme to defraud a Medicaid autism program and who stole 465,000 from an initiative to feed children in need, pleaded guilty to one count of wire fraud on Thursday. The 28-year-old will be sentenced later. Hassan's plea came to the U.S. District Attorney Office for Minnesota, announced new charges against six additional defendants in a sprawling, huge fraud scandal that is now over $9 billion. Send them the fuck back, which has roots in the large Somali community who are now in the crosshairs of President Donald Trump's immigration crackdown. Trump has said how they take from the country while contributing very little, is taunting the fraud scheme as proof of many immigrants, legal and illegal, are exploiting the U.S. No, so vindicates his policy on mass deportation. His opponents say he is unfairly tarnishing entire groups of people for the actions of a majority. I don't give a fuck. Go home. One scheme in which Hassan has involved was making claims for reimbursement of early intensive developmental behavior intervention benefit. Hey y'all, a Minnesota public health program provided support and medical services to people under 21 with autism. The second scheme was Feeding Our Future, a Minnesota nonprofit to provide meals to school children, which drew on state grants worth hundreds of billions of dollars. The fraud is now at $9 billion. Get them the fuck up out of here. Yet very few meals were ever provided, and much of the money was stolen. A third scheme in which Hassan was not charged involved Medicaid coverage for housing stabilization in Minnesota. Some 9 billion dollars in Medicaid claims paid out in Minnesota since 2018 may be fraudulent. Yes, get out here. The magnitude cannot be overstated. What we see in Minnesota is not a handful of bad actors committing crimes. He noted every day we look under rock and find a new 50 million fraud scheme. The state's Democratic leadership is under pressure for failure to detect and prevent the massive fraud. But they say Tim Waltz knew and turned a blind eye to it. Republicans accused him of turning a blind eye, I just said that, for political gain, garnering donations and support from those perpetuating and benefiting from the fraud. Minnesota Democratic Governor Tim Waltz, running mate, they would have been awful. This is a now, this is what he said. We will not tolerate fraud. We will continue to work with federal partners to ensure fraud is stopped and fraudsters are caught. Yeah, you saying that shit now, bitch. You benefited from it too, as well. So, I don't know. 10 months after the Brown University debacle with the gun violence, he signed two orders in relating to gun violence prevention. The first creates a statewide safety council to examine and help habits, help reduce the effects of gun violence. The second would track the cost of of gun violence and add to funding. I don't care what he do, his political career should be over with. So let's get into
Tampon Tim and the deranged Democrat
Tampon
Party
Tim.
does it again. Every single chance they get to show us just how extreme, how radical, and how deranged they are, they take it. And they don't just take it, they take it and they run with it. Now, you may or you may not be aware of the horrific debacle made by Tim Waltz this weekend. And I don't know how these left-wing extremists actually believe that somehow this is helping them to win back voters and win
Right,
back men. They're
right,
insane. Did you know that the Democrat Party invested $20 million to do a study on how to win back men? And you know what they found? They put tampon people like Tim Waltz or
right.
the who's the DS chair, or Malcolm K out, a sexual black guy that's married to one of the former writers of Politico, who's now with MSDNC host. These are the people who they have representing for the man. They had Tim Waltz out there with ratchets, tinkering under his hood, didn't know what the heck he was doing under there, while also trying to put tampon machines in boys' bathrooms. And also, did you know that Minnesota, under Tim Waltz, is one of the only states that has become a trans children.
For
Now, here's what
trans
that
children,
means.
yep.
If your 14 or 15-year-old child ran away and went to Minnesota and wanted to get a sex change, the state would pay for it, the
Yep.
state would feed them, the state would house them, and if you came to get your child back, guess what? You would be arrested for kidnapping. It is illegal for a parent to come and get their minor child from Minnesota, especially if that child is ready to do body mutilation. Did you know that? This is all fact. Now, over the weekend, there's rumors that President Trump had passed away. There was all types of horrible rumors about that. Now, what I want to do is before I
It
get into
is,
this
and
part,
it's gonna be
because as you can see,
real
the article
quick.
says after death rumors, top Democrat takes
I'm
President
about to
Trump.
get dressed.
MAGA goes ballistic.
I
Before I
just
even get into
called you.
that, I want to take a minute, and I want to show you what one of the
Danye, I'm
only
about to get
reasons
dressed.
that
Come on.
anybody ever watches CNN, what he had to say, and that's Scott Jennings. Scott Jennings is single-handedly saving that network from completely plummeting off the cliff with their 91,000 people in prime time that they tend to get, which is horrible. And from what I understand is the bulk of that comes from Scott Jennings. So let's take a listen to what Scott Jennings had to say. And then after that, I'm going to follow it up with what Tampon Tim said. And then I'm going to follow with something that you may or may not have ever seen before. That should make it where Tim Walz should never be allowed to open his mouth and have anything to say about things going on around the country that the president is doing to protect people, when I'm going to show you what his militia did. But check this clip out as he tears into Tim Walz.
Are you concerned about his health? No, because I talked to him on the phone yesterday for 40 minutes. I talked to the president and interviewed him, and we had a wide-ranging conversation. And he sounded fine to me. He covered a lot of topics. The things that were on his mind were tariffs, primarily. He was worried about the Supreme Court case that's coming up. He talked a lot about foreign affairs. He talked about immigration and talked about his political opposition. And look, what I'm worried about are people making irresponsible statements and wish casting about the president's health. I watched a video yesterday of Tim Walz speaking in front of a group saying, well, we thought we were going to wake up to some great news, but it turns out he's still alive. But don't worry, one of these days we'll wake up to that news. Now, that is the governor of Minnesota, the Democratic candidate for vice president, wish casting the death of the president of the United States. I don't care how much you hate your political opponent, wishing death upon them and joking about it means you're a broken-brained SOB, and that's what he is.
So we heard Scott give it to him. Now, just to make sure you fully understand who we're talking about here, this is Tim Walz's Minnesota. After this was during the pandemic, and these are people that are just standing on their porch enjoying the evening. Listen and watch to what Tim Walz's militia did to these people.
Look at this. They just keep coming.
Oh, go inside! Get inside! Get inside! Get inside! Get your house now! Let's go! Wait him up! Go inside now! Get in the house!
Get in. Oh, God, that hurt. You guys, are you okay?
Right on the fucking crotch.
Are you okay? You got hit?
Oh, good. They're fucked for that, dude. What?
Okay.
Now, as you saw, now the Democrats are complaining about President Trump using National Guard to stop crime in D.C., considering National Guard to stop crime in Chicago, send the National Guard to stop the violence in L.A. Now, they complain about that, but when Tim Walz used the National Guard against his own constituents who were just standing on their porch, enjoying the evening, not doing anything to anybody, his militia came through and lit up their house with rubber bullets, and as you saw, even hit somebody. But yet these demon rats will complain about President Trump fixing crime. And this is exactly why the Second Amendment can never be taken away. When people, if you're somebody that's ever had a bleeding heart about weapons and they're allowing these psyops that the Democrats use, where somebody gets hurt by a weapon and then they immediately pounce and they play on the heartstrings of people when they say, you know, chill, get rid of against your government leaders who feel like dictators, and they can tell you what, when, where, and how, and when to do it, and they'll send their militias through your neighborhood, and if you don't do what they say do, they'll drag you out of your house, or they'll just light your porch up until you go inside and become a prisoner in your own home. That was in Minnesota. That was in 2021, 2022. That's not years ago. That's under Tampon Tim. And we see how weak he is. Imagine somebody that really has a pair of cojones on him that has that type of power. See, this is what the Second Amendment is about. The demon rats want you to think it's all about, the little children. Nobody wants children to be hurt. But it's not a weapon that hurts the children. It's the deranged lunatic that's using a weapon. Like that person out there in Minnesota, that was a transgender on medications that had an epiphany with wanting to harm little children. They said it. If you're enjoying this video, do me a solid, hit that thumbs up, because I will never ask you for a cash app or for a super chat. But you hitting that like button, it really helps the channel. And if you aren't subscribed to the channel, subscribe. And whether you're subscribed already or you're subscribing now, make sure that you hit the notifications and you select all, because YouTube has been having an issue with getting the notification. The man that said that Tim Walz allegedly was sending him to go take the life of Senator Amy Klobuchar so that Tim Walz could take her seat. This is how all the media, none of the mainstream media is talking about that anymore. This man took the life of 2 Minnesota politicians, and we've heard nothing about it. As a matter of fact, I'm about to do a deep dive into that and find out what's going on. And I'm going to post
but he said Tim Walz told him to pay him to do that.
That is being built, and I'll get off into that later. So that way we can really talk about topics without worrying about the YouTube strikes and all of this censorship and all of that crap, because people deserve to know what's really going on. Now, I want you to listen to this clip of Scott Jennings where he really is about to light up Tim Walz. Check this clip out right here.
But I'll tell you who is a complete piece of shit. I'm going to tell you right now. There have been a lot of services. Tim Walz, okay, the governor of Minnesota, holding up a phone in front of a rally saying, well, we thought we were going to wake up and find out the president had died. Someday it'll happen. Someday it'll happen. I used to say he was the biggest buffoon in American politics, but it's worse now. No political official, no elected official should be walking around saying, well, I'm hoping we wake up one day and the president of the United States has died. Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
And we all know that if anybody would have said that under sleepy, creepy, piss pants Joe, the media would have went insane. They would have called them hard. They would have called them cold-blooded. They would have said they were this. They would have made up a new word. They were presidentianists. I don't know. You know, they just always come up with these weird words that nobody understands. But let me dig into this article. So again, after death rumors, who creates rumors about people dying? These people are extreme. That's why they should never be allowed back in power. Top Democrats take shot at Trump, and MAGA goes ballistic. It was written yesterday on the 3rd. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz has sparked outrage from President Donald Trump's MAGA base after he weighed in on rumors circulating about the president's health. Social media had erupted over the weekend after Trump was not seen in public for days. The man was resting, playing golf, with hashtags including "Where's Trump?" and
I remember that.
Meanwhile, Trump actively posted on his Truth Social platform and was spotted en route to his golf club in Northern Virginia on separate occasions. While speaking during the Labor Day event on Monday, Waltz joked about the speculation. You get up in the morning and you doom scroll through things. Like, who doom scrolls?
Right.
Those are nuts. Although I will say this, the last few days you woke up thinking there might be news. Waltz said to laugh from just saying, if we knew sometime, just so you know, there will be news, he continued. His comments have quickly gained traction among the president, supporters, and allies, but not in a positive light. Tim Walz mocking President Trump is a new low.
And it is. And, honey, I can't stand that damn Tim Walz.
All right, today I have a special guest to help.
Is going to get this sign and
This
stuff.
is
I'm
Stephen
hoping that
Gardner. I like him.
These uniparty blockers, these uniparty Republicans quit blocking us from getting to secure our elections. Which, by the way, Stephen, all people want that. After 4.5 years, you realize that, hey, It doesn't matter. You can sit and secure. The president knows he can secure the border. He can make it the best economy in history, and he can do this and do that. But if you don't secure your elections, anybody can win them by the press of a button, and you lose it all overnight, just like that.
Yeah. Let me show you, Mike, something coming out of Michigan. You probably saw this.
Oh no, I'll
this is a
talk
city-
about that. I'm trying to get to the Tim Waltz.
You know, they're saying, hey, this ain't a bad thing. You know, there are many, your CNNs of the world, your MSNBC, but then you have, you know, certain outlets I won't even mention that you would think like.
Now, kimchi restores the gut flora in your gut.
He has saved lives, and there's other. I'll be able to come back, but he's physically destroyed in our state, and then the value. You see what he wants. He would like a state push anybody with a red hat right out of Minnesota. That's what.
Okay,
he wants
here
to
it
do.
is. Here it is. I found it.
We're there, whatever. She goes, I can't stand the guy. She works for him. She goes, Mike, you should run for governor. I said, well, I'm thinking about it. And she goes, get those media trucks over here. So all the media trucks pull up and they're all standing there. And the first thing she said, what might make a great governor? He should run for governor. I'm going, that's not a bad idea. This we're getting. This was
Hi,
3
Billy.
weeks before the elections. Of course, she it was her last day that day. She got fired, I'm sure, but she didn't care. She wanted to leave. He's probably home going, what? You know?
Yeah.
But then he sent out cards, $1 million worth or more of cards all over the state of Minnesota with my picture on, this dark picture of me, and it says, do you want this Trump-like guy, you know, running for or being governor? It's this big scarecrow. He couldn't really say anything about my past because I told it all. I'm about as transparent as they come. You know, I grew up in Minnesota my whole life. I spent more time in the inner city that he let get burned down than probably most people. And by the way, all the stuff he let burn to the ground in Minneapolis in the summer of 2020. And the
Yeah, that was
precinct,
shameful.
if everybody remembers that, he just let him burn it to the ground. All my friends that had gotten off drugs back then. And, you know, there were many of us that I helped them get out of that world and give them so much to the Teen Challenge and Salvation Army. But hell, I lead their lives. And this is, these are the things, if I run for governor, they're going to find out about what Waltz has done. Not just his crazy, bizarre behavior. I mean, that he, like, saying that right there. I mean, you talk about somebody pitting, you know, two, you know, people dividing.
Oh, I spelled his name wrong. Let me edit
dividing
this.
people and times it by 10. I mean, just, you know, there a lot of people say, well, we have our governors, and you know what? I've been around this whole country. I would put at least 4 up by Waltz, but he is right up there in the top 5, if not number 1 at times, and the whole country knows about him. If he would win on our term in Minnesota, that's what I'm thinking of running. I believe I'm maybe one of the few that could beat him, but he in Minnesota would be ruined. We're at the tipping point where we might not be able to come back, but he's physically destroyed in our state, and then the value. You see what he wants. He would like a state push anybody with a red hat right out of Minnesota. That's what he wants to do. He wants to destroy Minnesota. There's another thing there.
He
too.
did a
There's
great job.
that I can't even say on your program here because I would getting out in front of things we're already doing on the ground in Minnesota to try and fight this at that level. And but discussing Minnesota, by the way, in 2016 and 20, Donald Trump won Minnesota. In my opinion, I'll put a little disclaimer there for you.
Yeah, I've seen the data, so I have a similar opinion to you. You've been through legal stuff over the years. President Trump.
I just wanted y'all to hear.
So check this out, right? People are just foul. Just straight up foul. How could you even do this,
This is
bro?
the Matthews family.
But one thing's for sure, though. Understand that coming. I never want to be in the presence nice coming at him because I believe. I don't think it just come and go. I think it stays with you. Peter, right? Check this out. He shot his pop in the groin, then stole his gun. Let's get to it.
September 9th, around 2:45 a.m., Darren Blissett calls 911. He's been shot inside his apartment North Ave in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
911, what country? What's going on there? 872, I'm shot. 2025 Emerson Avenue North? Yeah. Who shot you? I gotta look up the line. Are you there by yourself? I got a paramedic on the line, can you talk to them?
Police and emergency responders arrive at a building in. Despite their efforts, officers find Darren Blissett unresponsive. He's pronounced dead at the scene from 2 gunshot wounds to the groin, and investigators begin working to uncover what happened.
I thought that's what was happening right then and there. I thought he was dying.
Yeah.
I told you to go lay down. Now you go lay down.
Did you happen to let anyone into the apartment complex?
No, I wouldn't do that.
No?
No, sir.
Okay.
The old man by himself here, nigga.
What's your name?
What is
Alright, so you didn't hear anything, nothing, no arguments or anything going on in here? Okay. Well, thank you, I appreciate it.
Appreciate that, Willie Lord. Appreciate that, Willie Lord. Good old Willie Lord right there. Oh man, I know this is a terrible, time to be having laughs and everything with the situation going on, but just a name like, you have to live in the South to understand it. Willie Lloyd, a name like that.
Yeah, that's facts, but let's get past that.
Don't be scared. We're not gonna play.
The thing is, man, you don't know something, you know what I'm saying? And they just snatch it away all the time with time. But so often,
Life up and there's 30 of them out there, you pretty much ain't going home, buddy. But this interrogation cop, the way he's setting him up so far, you can tell he's good. You can tell he's like, we done seen enough of these interrogations to kind of be able to tell if this guy know what he's doing or he's new.
Obviously, since you came down here in handcuffs, we have to read you your rights. Okay. But that doesn't mean... No, somebody get their side of the story, they stay in custody and they're arrested. And sometimes when we hear from people, we get their side of the story, they're unarrested and they're allowed to walk out the door. It just depends on what we hear. Okay? But since we're asking you questions about this, I have to read you your rights. Make sense? Yeah. Okay. Jeffrey, the Constitution requires I inform you that you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against the court, or I've talked to a lawyer now and have the lawyer present or any questioning. If you cannot afford a lawyer, one will be appointed for you at no cost. Jeffrey, do you understand everything I just read to you?
Yes.
Okay. So September 9th, right around 2 o'clock in the morning.
You let that play.
DB's house?
No, sir.
Apartment 202?
Didn't go in his house by that time.
You didn't?
No, sir.
Okay. So you know Phyllis? Phyllis. That's DB's chick. You've never seen
Man, that man is slamming that lady so many times. That's the lady who, that man is slamming her so many times. Dang, yo, he's with her.
You've never seen Phyllis before?
Never.
Okay.
He don't been talked about her.
All right. So, when was the last time you were at DB's house? In August? That was a long time ago. Okay.
Now, the date stamped on, and it's funny, this dude cannot get out the door, but he stood up when the dude said he didn't go to his apartment. He pretty much saying, "Oh, you done. We got you on camera. I can leave now." Is what I'm thinking he doing. But he's saying end of August, sometime in August. They said this shooting happened like months October. So, for those on the poll, what are you talking about? I would have had to dig further.
Walk off? Do you run off?
Walk around. Why would I walk around?
What, did you walk onto the building?
Yeah.
Onto the back?
I think so. Now, because I be parking on the side. Sometimes I'll park in the back. Sometimes I don't park on the side. It depends on them little young boys bring right down the side of the house. Them young boys right there, I be going. Because see, before I start coming up with pop, some people shut up their house before. You know what I'm saying? Their house was shut up like a month or two before, you know what I'm saying? I started coming around.
Right.
That whole.
Where did you go afterwards?
Thought he was about to say a month or two before I shot the place up. You know what I mean? There was people shooting it up even before I shot it up. I thought he was about to slip up there.
You know what I'm saying? I started coming around.
Right.
That whole.
Where did you go afterwards?
You know what I'm saying? Right now,
Yeah. Okay. So you live there with Jimmy? Your girlfriend?
Yeah. That I.
White man.
We'll see. We'll see.
Anyway, this is just a little snippet of what's going on in Minnesota. Part 2 will be back when I get back. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment.